Hello and welcome to tonight's live Q&A with me, Seán, only on the RennEleven page. We're going to be joined by Laurina Esposito in a moment. Firstly, though, we've got to do the most important thing. Well, two important things, actually. So, first thing is tonight's drink is Aspel's, or Aspel Draft Cider. Now, this is apparently made with green apples, so it goes with the ensemble that I'm wearing, which is good. Be good if I had a cap opener, which I do. Okay, so hopefully you've all got your drinks ready. A second shout out very quickly, I want to say to my friends over at Boyds of Bedford, that's Tom and Jessica, who have, I'm wearing some of their gear. If you want to support a really cool company that love everything to do with cafe racers, motorcycles, cool cars, and just cool people, they're your people that you want to support, okay? So big shout out to them as well. Anyway, without much further ado, I believe Laurina is ready. It's good to see everyone, by the way, waving to all.
I mean, as ready as I'll ever be, I guess.
Hello, mate. How you doing?
Hi. How are you?
I'm not too bad, thank you very much. Say again? Across the pond. Across the pond, indeed. Yeah, it's not too bad. It's dark out there, so it's the end of the day for us. But it's only like midday for you over there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's noon over here. It's a little bit. We're expecting storms, so
that's all right. Well,
inside, I guess.
Well, that's all right. You know, we've got an hour to kill now. So, have you got your beverage as well, by the way, Laurina? Ah, wicked. Is that homemade, or did you actually go out and get that?
No, I actually went out, but I went out and I bought two so that I could have one and then have one later because they close early now because of this whole thing that we're doing.
Yeah, I hear you. It's well, we actually don't have any coffee shops open anymore at the moment, so all coffee shops are closed. No, nothing. No Starbucks, no Costas, no whatever. You know, no McDonald's, no Burger King, no KFC. It's pretty shut.
I have been making it at home. I will say I've been doing really good. I've been making my own coffee every day. I take it in my travel mug, so I've been doing good. But on the weekends, I've been going and grabbing something if I can.
Good. Okay. Well, it's nice that we can still support businesses throughout this time because there's a lot of people in a lot of situations that they don't have that facility, they don't have that opportunity. So I get that. So at least you're doing your bit. So well done. Big sip as well. Okay. So for many people, I'm sure there's a lot of people who are actually watching this right now who are already who already know about you and understand not just your position within Women in Porsche, that wicked movement that you started like last year, but also your influence, especially nowadays, and especially in the last like sort of 3 or 4 years with Esposito Porsche and Esposito restorations. So tell everyone a little bit more about, firstly, how you got into the business, because it's your dad's business originally, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I mean, I grew up with Porsche. My dad, you know, before they were the movement that they are today, my dad was, you know, buying junk cars and doing them in our driveway, you know. So I from a very early age was surrounded by Porsche, all things Porsche. And you know, before they were old, I mean, I was born in '81, so he'd have a 10-year-old car in the driveway, and that's not old, you know. And so before they were old, I was working on these cars with him. So it was always part of it. My parents were divorced when I was very young, so he'd come out and visit me during the week, and he'd always have a new car, something that he was working on. So I remember very early on sitting in like a Speedster or you know, 356, something like that, and like my feet wouldn't even extend past the end of the seat, you know, but just like rocking these old cars. It was awesome. I mean, I loved it. And then I kind of did my own thing and went off on my own. I was in totally opposite end of the spectrum. I was in high-end fashion and also in professional performing. I'm a professional singer. And I did that out of Vegas for a long time. And then my dad, you know, and I were talking about his business and how he could use some help from a, you know, business and sales standpoint. And I had an opportunity to take a really large position with Coach. And I called my dad and I went, it's kind of now or never. I either take this job and run with it, or I come and work for you. And he was like, let's do it. So I turned down opportunity of a lifetime.
Whoa, Coach, as in the bags.
Yeah. Yeah. I was supposed to be their West Coast regional director. So the entire West Coast US.
Wow.
Yeah. And I turned it down and I came to work with my dad, and it was the best decision I've ever made. I have never been happier, never been more satisfied in something that I do. You know, applying my knowledge in business and applying my knowledge in sales, you know, and then also this history of working with my dad on these cars and, you know, knowing Porsche and being able to sort of connect all the dots and, you know, apply it. It's been really exciting. So I actually started working with him in about 2016. And then I'm still there. So that's what I do.
That's good. It's a good innings already, but wow, it must have been some form of affliction to make you at that point go, it's either now or never. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
You know, the Coach is a huge company.
It really was, and you know, I had always just sort of kept rising the ladder, and I'm very proud of the career that I had, and it was, you know, I did a lot of really great work, and I don't regret any of the decisions that I made in my life. I believe that everything leads you to where you are, you know, so whatever decision it is, whatever mistake you make, it always leads to where you are. And I have no regrets, but I was definitely at a point where I think I was just kind of over it. I was traveling constantly. You're flying from coast to coast all the time. I had worked for UK company. I actually worked for Topman for a while. And so I was on, I know you know that one.
Yeah, well, I may have bought some gums from there in the past, you know. Maybe.
Yeah, that's big in your area. And so I was, you know, I was on UK time constantly, and I just was tired. And I think I just kind of wanted a little bit more of a normal life. I definitely didn't get it. I did not get a normal life. This is not a normal life. But it was definitely a good change. I'm really glad that I made it. Working with my dad's been amazing.
That's cool. I mean, working with family, it's either make or break anyway.
Yeah.
What similarities have you seen then, working in the fashion world and now working within the car industry, and how have you been able to tap in some of your skill set from previous to enable you to sort of fly?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite honestly, it's a very similar, when you're in high-end fashion, so you're working for Coach or some of these bigger companies that, you know, they're a higher price point. A lot of these people are the same people that I'm dealing with now. So, you know, it was an easy translation in terms of the way I was dealing with clientele. So you learn how to talk to people. You know, when you're working for Topshop, for example, it's a bunch of teenagers and your dialogue's very different. But when you're working in high-end fashion, you're dealing with people who have money and who know how to spend money, and they know quality, and they know care, you know, and they expect a certain thing from you. And so it was very easy to translate, at least from that standpoint, you know, to go, okay, this is the same person. I mean, I had clients who would drop $9,000 on jewelry, you know, in one day, and that person is the same person who's going to invest $100,000 into a car. So I think that was an easy thing for me. I was, however, incredibly naive, thinking that people would just sort of take my expertise and my skills and my experience as a whole and go, oh, she's got something, she knows something, and would accept me in this world. I think I was very fortunate not to have any sort of misogyny or anything else that went with that in my entire career leading up till now. So that was one thing that I think I definitely was not prepared for, was having to sort of fight to prove myself, you know.
Do you still think, because I you know, unbeknown to most people, I actually work in the car industry myself. I work in the automotive industry. I work for a very large, perhaps one of the largest brands out there. And do you still feel, at the moment, what we're doing, if I say what we're doing as a brand, that the company I work for, they're really starting to celebrate women within the industry making positive leaps and bounds and moving into positions of, I don't want to say greater power, just more greater influence, if you will.
Yeah, leadership in general. Yeah.
Leadership, training, learning and development, those kind of things as well. You know, I used to think that women can bring something else to the table. They bring the same and more. The gender part for me doesn't really make much difference, only because I suppose I grew up with a very strong woman in my life, my mum.
That's what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah, so that's it's always been kind of natural for me not to think of I separate that and that. But have you felt it differently, even though you've worked with your father and everyone knows, well, your dad knows what he's talking about, therefore you must know what you're talking about, surely?
That is what I expected. That is not what I got. I do think that there are some clients. I have to give credit where credit is due. I have some amazing clients who do very much support me, and you know, they do defer to me and refer to me as an expert. But I did expect exactly what you said, where I'd walk in and people would go, "Oh, well, John's an expert, so Laurina must be too." And I kind of got the opposite. I constantly got asked if I was the secretary or if I was, you know, the receptionist. If I had a dialogue with somebody and I was able to explain something or express myself in a way that I knew was accurate, it was questioned constantly. So I know that there are a lot of people like yourself out there who are working to encourage people to accept women as experts in this field. But I think that the car world as a whole is sort of behind in terms of accepting women as overall experts and leaders in this field. So my hope is that Women in Porsche will help to change that culture. And it, quite frankly, will normalize women in this industry as opposed to sensationalizing it.
Yeah, feminism is often utilized as a weapon against women, and often made into something to say, no, they want all power. No, it's all about equality. That's the beautiful thing about it. You know, true feminism is about raising everyone up so everyone's in the same point and everyone's in the same boat looking in the same direction, rather than having something that's like, no, we're better than you. Indeed, right. You know, everyone's got their skill set. Everyone's is good at certain things, and then everyone's not so good on certain things.
Right. I mean, I think that feminism as a whole, there's sort of two schools of thought with feminism. There are a lot of women who unfortunately kind of push the envelope in a direction that makes a lot of people uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's all about trying to separate themselves. And I believe that feminism as a whole is about equality. I don't want to ever have to talk about it. You know, I want for people ultimately to just go, yep, that person is an expert in this field, and it doesn't matter what anatomy she has.
The person, yeah.
That's what I think that the movement of feminism should be, and that is my goal ultimately with Women in Porsche.
Let's use that as a perfect segue to get into Women in Porsche. So you started. I remember your first post. I started following you very soon after that. It was before I turned to RennEleven. So that would have been February last year, if I remember correctly. Is that right?
Yeah, we started in February of last year. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And the goal, what was that first goal? Because I know one of my my patrons here, Tom Horner from Drive Classic, said, what was the goal, the end goal and the aim? So good opportunity now to ask.
Yeah. Initially, it was just telling the stories of the women who love, work on, drive, are involved with Porsche. I felt like if we at least just started to communicate about those women, that it would start to educate the world that there is this sort of group of us that exist. It has morphed a little bit since then, because I started to get a lot of, people who would go, wow, this is a much bigger and much more important movement. I didn't even know when I started this how important this was going to be. I don't want to act like I went into this going, this is going to be great. This is going to be, I think you phrased it just so eloquently by saying that it was a cultural movement. And I didn't even see it that way. You know, I just saw it as an opportunity for us to connect to each other. I went looking, to kind of backtrack, I went looking, being on the receiving end of some, you know, not so great experiences. I was like, there have to be other women like me. There have to be other people out there like me who love Porsche and who I can go to and go, have you ever been on the receiving end of some of this stuff? And so that's what I started looking for, and I didn't find it. I was really shocked that Porsche as a company hadn't already facilitated something like this, and that somebody else hadn't, you know. So I was really surprised that it didn't exist. And being the proverbial overachiever who wants to run like 85 companies at one time, I was like, let me just add that to my belt, you know? And like, who needs to sleep, you know? So
overrated, man. Who cares?
Whatever, you know? So I added that to my list of things to do, and I was just shocked at how quickly it's grown. I did have to pull the reins back a little bit in the past, 6 months or so, because I needed to create an actual business out of it to protect us. So we are officially a corporation. We are licensed, and, you know, we have all of our proper things in place, and I now have a staff, and we're like, you know, really kind of moving things in the right direction, because I went international this year, and we have, you know, branches that have popped up all over the world now.
You do indeed. You have France. I know Sonia Mataru from the UK.
Good. Yeah.
Repping it. So Son's a personal friend of mine. She's awesome.
She was, I mean, I you know, when you find a woman like that who you go, you're on the same page, you're willing to take a risk. And so before I was even officially official, I let her kind of have our brand and run with it a little bit. And she's just been amazing. And so now we have France, we have Canada, we have Germany. Our German branch is going to it's Bavarian, I should say, right? So we're overseeing kind of all that area. We do have Australia that's going to start pretty soon. And then I have 40 chapters in the US that are going to start in the next few months. So, we're
40 chapters.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well done.
It's just so exciting, you know, to let these women have access, and I mean, it's ultimately not about me. I really want this to be about all of the women out there who do this. There's a lot of, obviously, Porsche clubs, and they're great, but they are also historically good old boy clubs. And a lot of these women want to sort of combine the focus, and they want to go, look, I still want to be a part of the PCA, but I also want to kind of do my own thing. And that's what I'm trying to do is give people the opportunity to do that. So in LA and in, you know, our market, we are very connected to the PCA, and we will continue to be and continue to support their efforts. But we are also, you know, doing our own thing a little bit too.
How welcoming have PCA been?
Well, I'm very lucky that Mariana Small is president of the PCA LA. So I got one girl with me there.
Marina. Yeah, there you go.
And they've been exceptional, so that helps a lot. The Zone 8 that oversees basically all of the, you know, majority of the West Coast, they're incredibly supportive and helpful. But I've had unbelievable outpouring of support from all over the world. So some of the higher ups in all of the Porsche community have reached out to me to support this, and it's been unbelievable.
It's an awesome movement, you know, and it's great to see the growth that you had. You know, I remember when you were asking to get over to 2,000, and now you're approaching 7,000 followers.
I know.
And they're genuine followers. This is a note to everyone who's watching, and anyone who does watch this, please start following Women in Porsche, because it's the amount of people that actually partake in sending comments and liking. It's not just the likes, it's the comments, it's the interactions that you have. It's something I believe in. The whole point of social media, it should be social, and you really do carry that off incredibly well. So if you actually want something that you're going to partake in and actually get responses and have great discussions, Women in Porsche is one of the best pages to go on, straight up. I'll say that now. So no, but it's genuine. You see it, and it's fantastic. So well done for what you're doing so
I mean,
far.
it's real people. It's real people connecting. And I really want to make it very clear that it's not a women only group. It's not a women only page. I have some of my biggest supporters are men. And I don't ever want for people to feel like they can't participate just because they're not a woman. And so I am so grateful to all of the men out there who have encouraged this movement, because it's, you know, we are planning our first retreat, and it is a co-ed retreat for that reason. So I
didn't realize that.
Understand that, yeah, that we are very much active in the community. It's just really about allowing for women to feel included. And the way that we do that is by co-gender, you know, so we can't separate ourselves out as much as, you know, we can celebrate, but I want it to be inclusive.
Cool. I get that. I think it's nice that you are making it as inclusive for everyone as well. It just makes it a lot more of a welcoming experience, and people want to partake in that. So how old were you when you realized, yeah, do you know what, Porsche? Yeah, that's right. That's the right fit.
Honestly, I would have to say that's a lot more recent than not. I mean, I've always appreciated Porsche. I have definitely always loved it. But it wasn't really until I started to get more involved in the business itself that I was like, this car is brilliant. You know, I mean, I have seen things through Espo that speak to the craftsmanship of these cars that I don't think most people understand. For example, I've had 2 clients have incredibly horrible accidents, rollovers, sliding down mountains, things like that, and walked away unscathed. To have a car that's built that strong and that well, that can hold up to that, that is, you know, there's bar none basically to anything else. So that craftsmanship is there, but also the history. A lot of people don't understand or don't realize that a lot of the cars were tailored. They thought they were going to be cars for women. You know, the 911 initially rolled out from a marketing standpoint. They were marketing and tailoring these cars to women because they thought that they had a sort of feminine feel and design. And so if you look at a lot of the old ads, there's women in the ads in the driver's seat or, you know, standing perfectly, you know, taut next to the car. And so I love that the brand itself has actually been fairly supportive of women as a whole for, you know, a very long time. But I actually was like growing up, it was all about, when I was growing up, it was all about Mustangs and bugs, you know, so I've always kind of had a thing for vintage cars, but you know, it wasn't exactly the Porsche movement. And my first car was a 70s Chevelle. So. Interesting.
And that's a cool car as well. Not many people in the UK know Chevelles and other Chevys and whatnot.
California cars, yeah. Those are US born and made cars.
Yeah, proper.
But they're boats. I mean, I went to college in San Francisco, and I used to drive that car across the Bay Bridge all the time. So, I mean, you know, you pile 17 girls in that car.
Bloody hell. Huge. It's like a Woody. What was I going to say? Yeah, so something you touched upon there, that the 911 was kind of the market, it was going towards the more feminine market. Do you feel that's why a lot of people tend to call the 911? I have this discussion with a few of my mates because I call my car he, and everyone else calls theirs 911 she, and I'm like, I don't know.
You know what? I think every car has a spirit. My dad actually is a really full believer in a car having a soul. You know, that he can walk up to it and touch the car and go, this car, it has great energy, or this one doesn't. I mean, we actually have had a lot of cars in the shop that we just go, ugh. This
Don't say that.
Is just a beast, you know. I mean, it's just sometimes they just can't be recovered, you know. Yeah. But for the most part, they sort of tell you. I'm sure that sounds a little bit kooky, but they definitely communicate to you who they are and what they are. So I think that I haven't actually seen a consistent, like 911s are girl cars, you know, or are girl spirits. I've definitely had a lot of clients who refer to them as he or refer to them as she. So I think it's kind of cross-pollinated.
Okay, cool. Okay, it was just a little thing that came in my head, and I just thought, oh, okay, it was interesting. Okay,
but
so
if you know a lot of people who call them she, I'm interested to know why. I think that's kind of a cool thing.
Yeah, I've not. I think I'm the only person that I've encountered who calls my cars he. I don't know why. You know, I'm sure there's probably going to be some Freudian thing coming across, and we're going to have relationship issues with fathers and grandparents or something like that. But hey,
somebody's going to psychoanalyze it.
Yeah, we could go to town on some people, I'm sure, you know, especially in this industry. But you're one of many women who are moving forward within the car industry. You have people like Jen, GI Jen, who works in Tekla. Is it Christina Nielsen as well, the IMSA motor racing driver?
She's part of Accelerating Change. Yep.
Okay, yeah. Do you feel you have Sarah, LA Dismantler as well? You have a lot of other people who seem to be moving forward now in the industry, and the gender element, they're not making it a huge thing. However, do you feel like it's the start of something positive now? We're actually starting to see a lot more gender blindness, and it's just like, well, the right person for the job's the right person for the job.
You know, I kind of know where a lot of these girls came from and how they got there. So I know the stories and how it wasn't easy for them to be in these positions. So I don't want to say that it's more of a gender blind thing and that, you know, they just sort of got, you know, into this position because, you know, we've moved culturally in the right direction. You know, Jen, for example, she came on temp and was not hired originally to run that position, to be in that position, and fought very hard for it. I mean, she really stood up for herself, and she went, you know what, I am the right woman for this job, and you really need to give me this opportunity. And so she just had a voice that was strong enough to say, I'm better for this than anybody else. But they didn't originally give it to her. They didn't originally, like, you know, go out there and say, yes, okay. You know, Sarah, her husband was running the company and unfortunately passed away. And so she took over. So there's, you know, I think that people are more accepting, but we haven't all, you know, just sort of started there, you know. I mean, I don't think that my company would be where it is today if I would have started it, quite frankly. I don't think that we would be in this position. I did a live video working on the Targa that we're building right now. My dad was, you know, kind of a guest on it, and I had probably 5 or 6 people say, like, oh, finally a real expert, somebody who actually knows what they're talking about. So I don't think that we're quite as far along as I would hope that we would be, but I do think that having all these women in these positions is helping us get there.
That's it kind of angers me when people are still dealing with that kind of Neanderthal back in the day old mentality bullshit, you know, and it's such a shame that you still have to experience that. I sincerely hope that people get a clue now and actually start thinking, okay, this person knows what they're doing, this person knows what they're talking about, I'm the dickhead here, you know, let them be the person who gives me that information.
Right. I think that the best, you know, it's kind of that catch flies with honey. I don't like to force myself on men who aren't comfortable with dealing with me. So I have taken sort of a, I don't know how to say it, but like, I just take the stance of like, fine, you know, like if you're not ready, it's all good. I got people you can talk to. So I have, you know, a willingness to step aside for the better of the business, because I think that there aren't a lot of people who are ready for it. And so I do have partners in my company that I allow to have those dialogues when I don't feel like I'm the right person for the job. So I think that has to be a part of this, is that women also need to know when men aren't receptive, in order for them to, you know, for a lot of these men to go, oh, well, she's not going to force feminism down my throat. She's not going to force herself, you know, to be in my face. And that, you know, we can actually be the bigger people who then sort of soften the lines a little bit and, you know, make it easier for men to transition.
Yeah, it would be nice for them to do it sooner rather than later, though, you know, so, but
yeah.
I hear you. Cool. I just want to go back. How much of a hand, going back to Esposito, how much of a hand did you have in getting the new premises, the 32,000 square foot premises, which, you know, when you did that COVID-19 update video, that walkthrough was like, oh my God, is that still the same place? What the hell? Whoa, look at that. My God. It was awesome. That was a cool ad,
Most
by the way.
people
Even though
come
it's for
on.
positivity for health things, it was still like, wow. This, if when I come to LA, I'm there. I'm coming over.
It's
Man.
huge. It's true. You know, it's so funny. Most people come to the property, you know, when we have car week or, you know, Porsche week during February, that time period every year. We have people who come and visit all the time, and they just are in awe and shock at how big this space is. It's a total of 36,000 square feet, including our outside lot. But obviously that makes that as part of our property because all of the cars are there. We have covered areas, things like that. It's broken up into 3 different spaces. So I have a mechanics shop basically that has 3 lifts, and you know, it houses numerous vehicles. We actually have a machine motor shop space that just for building motors. And then I have that's all part of the same building. That's also our office building.
Yeah.
Getting offices was beautiful. Real quick, when I started working for my dad, it was in just a dump. I mean, it was so gross. And you know, you like don't want to touch anything, and everything's just really nasty. And there was no real separation. So dust got everywhere. The bathrooms were just like, you couldn't sit, you squat. Like, it was just so bad. So moving into a facility where I'm like, there's a girl's bathroom was just like the best thing. So we, you know, having offices is fantastic. And then, you know, we have a body shop in the back. Dedicated that has fits about 8 cars, and then I have our frame machine there, Select Bench, etc. Select certified. We have an assembly, like a clean room assembly area just for doing that, and then we have my paint shop where we have our downdraft booth and space for doing priming. Sorry, woo, drop. And then we have an outside area for polish so that we get sunlight and things like that. So, you know, it's a very large space. And then we have a whole other section of the shop that's also dedicated to parts, and we carry a lot of old parts. We also started carrying sheet metal recently. We just partnered with Restoration Design to start carrying their parts in the US for them. And, you know, so we have really adopted this space in a large way. So to answer the question officially, my dad and I were looking for a place to store cars because we were running out of room. And we drove past this facility just to go to lunch one day. And I was like, we should call, you know, and we thought it was just going to be a small part of the building. And we did the same thing that most people do. We walked on and we went, wait, this whole thing, it's everything. And we were just shocked at how big the space was. And it was very little more than what we've been paying before. And it was a no-brainer. I mean, it was just a really, really easy decision. So my dad was hesitant. He was like, if we do this, it could really make or break us. And I went, it's going to make us, period. It's just, let's do it. And we just did.
Do you feel that positive outlook that you have is a real driving force in where you are moving towards with not just Esposito, but with women in Porsche?
I'm an eternal optimist. I have sort of a couple of mottos, but one of my life mottos is just make it work. I don't believe in ever saying that you can't. So for me, it's like, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it. We're going to believe in it. We're going to run with it, and we're going to make it work no matter what. So I do believe a lot of that has to do with it. A lot of people don't know, but my dad almost died about 6 months after I started. And our business took a really huge hit. We were definitely very close to shuttering our doors. And I just kept that same thing in my head, constantly going, we're going to make it work. We're going to make it work. We're going to make it work. And we came out on top. And I actually said to somebody recently, I said, I think our experience going through that is going to make us a leader in getting through now. All of these other businesses are now starting to go through the same situations that we all went through already in 2017. And because we've already been through it once, I think that we can kind of help other people go through it now.
Yeah, it takes a challenging situation experience to kind of either make you or break you, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, I completely hear that. So did it stem from there, or what situation kind of made you go, do you know what? It's actually not that bad. Let's just do it. Let's carry on. Make it work.
It did stem from there. You know, my dad has been we're on 11 years now in this iteration of business. But you know, when he was out of the business for almost 8 months, and I was faced with a lot of pushback and a lot of questions. I mean, I had clients flat out go, you know what, I'm not going to pay you until John gets back. And you're like, how, why, you know, like, what are you doing? And that was sort of a moment for me where I went, I need to figure out how to get these people to trust me. I need to figure out how to get people to believe in me as an authority in this business. And I want to do it in a way that is compassionate, understanding, and kind. And so that was definitely a turning point for me where I went, I got to make a change, and I'm going to make this business thrive. But I think where the feminist part of this, or feminine, I should say, part of this comes in is that I am a mama bear, and I look at my team as my family, and I look at their kids as my family extensions. And for me, there was no option to not make it. These people all relied on me. Their kids relied on my company to put food in their mouths, and there was no option for me to ever not make it, because I have so many people who need our company in order to do that.
That's awesome. And, you know, I wish you, your family, like the best of successes for everything, because, you know, it's great when you want good people to succeed. That's all. So keep smashing. No. Thank you for your time as well. Firstly, what we're going to do now is we had some really cool questions that were firing at us whilst we were talking. Now, someone mentioned that we don't look at comments. I'm constantly looking at both. I'm one of these people that somehow I can multitask. Oh, see, we're watching at the same time. We're multitasking. My God, I'm the first male to multitask. You know what? I need a badge. There you go. Right. So, and thank you very much, Alan. This guy, the Russian, if you're not following him, you should. The guy's a nutcase, and I love this man. He is wonderful. He normally actually bothers me with when I put questions up. He just literally trouncers me with questions, but he's wonderful. I love that guy. So anyway, let's move upwards. There was a really good question. Okay. Yes, it was. Oh, we've got someone called Dr. Kyle Stanley. Stoked to have Espo's team building my car. Thanks, Laurina.
Kyle is unbelievable. He and I have a really awesome partnership right now. So he's helping me with some stuff, and I'm helping him with some stuff, and it's amazing to build those relationships, you know. Yeah, but We're building a car. It's going to be kind of a one-off. It's going to be a very unique, one-of-a-kind vehicle.
Interesting. You can't give any more information, no?
It is literally from the ground up. I have a shell that I got very lucky to have, and we're offering it to him. We're going to do special flares. He's making it this brilliant, beautiful color of like a sea green blue. And we are partnering with Carbone to do the interior. So this vehicle is just going to be a dynamite rock hard car. So I'm super excited about it.
Oh, sounds exciting. I can't wait to see it. We had another question here from Charlie. He's one of my friends. We're looking to do something together, actually. Is there something about the Porsche brand that makes it the perfect fit for this movement? Or was it simply because you like Porsches? Oh, need to change the camera there. There we go. So
two-part answer to that question. Obviously, my history is in Porsche, so it makes sense for me as an expert in that field to run with it that way. That said, I actually have a parent brand called Femme Sport that I've sort of kept on the down low right now, but it ultimately, hopefully, will lead to a women in movement in all different vehicle brands. So ideally, you know, in the next few years, we're going to have, you know, women in Audi, women in Mercedes, women in BMW. And, you know, I'm leaking a little information here right now, but ultimately this will lead to that. So, you know, I do think that Porsche is the perfect vehicle, both literally and figuratively, to run this, because the community, the Porsche community, is unlike any other. If you talk to people who are in any other car brand, it is not like this. Case in point, I took my pink Boxster out today to go get my coffee, and I drove up next to a 356, and the guy waved at me, and I waved at him. Drove up next to a Panamera. I saw somebody who hates him, and I kind of agree with you, but you know, and same thing, waved at me, waved back. You know, so we definitely, I don't know these people from Adam, but we know each other because we love Porsche, and I don't see that with any other car brand. So I do believe that it is absolutely the right brand to start this movement, but ultimately, hopefully, it won't be the only one.
That's very cool. I hear what you're saying about friendly nods and you know, headlight flashes and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I get that. But just for the benefit of everyone watching, the opinions of those people that I interview are not necessarily the same opinions that I have here, because I like the Panamera. There you go. But you know, there you go.
Sorry if I offended anybody. I love Porsche.
Oh wait, no, trust me. You haven't done my quickfire questions yet, and you're going to offend someone there. So fingers crossed. Last year,
every day, Tom.
Same here. I have a natural nap. I am out of my friendship group. I think I'm the dickhead. So
yeah,
it's a hat that fits comfortably. I'm happy to wear it.
Well, like I said, you know, besties across the pond. You know, so
there you go. We're there. Last era brand, Eric, who I interviewed last week, calls you a total badass, allegedly. So keep being a badass there. Bold City, Motorsport, my friend Ed, awesome discussion. Spiky Curve, mentioning Sons as well, wicked. Yes. We had a question here.
Talk about a badass she is.
Oh, someone's making a comment about my tash. I have a beard and proper stash, but I need to see your barber. I can't see my barber, I'm afraid, my friend, because we're on complete lockdown. So I'm going to start.
Can right now.
No, we can't.
We're
so
all
I'm going to.
Real good at doing our own hair.
Well, I'm lucky. My hair's disappearing back. I look like one of those old models where you pull the hair, long hair, and it disappears in your head. It's probably what's happened. Here we go. There was another great question. Would you prefer a classic air-cooled 911 or a modern water-cooled 911?
That's air-cooled all the way. Oh my God. That's not even a question. It's just, I could never, ever pick a water-cooled car over an air-cooled if I'm given the option. It's always going to be air-cooled.
Cool. Fair enough. That's cool. You're wrong, but fair enough. But we have, Charlie's also mentioned, boats and cars are often called she. Boats often due to the mother idea of keeping sailors safe. Ah.
Okay.
Every day's
that
a new
kind of
school.
Makes sense.
Does make sense. You know, you want your mother to get you home safe, so you call the boat a she. So you got to look after her, otherwise mother's going to bite back, isn't it?
There you go.
There you go. Something new for both of us.
Never even thought about
that. Spiky Curve. If you didn't drive he's the one who asked about air cooled or water cooled.
Right.
If you didn't drive a Porsche, what other car would you drive?
Okay. New cars. My dream car is a Infiniti QX80. I just am absolutely obsessed. I love it. I love the chrome. I love all the features. And I mean, in LA, an SUV is a really smart thing to have. If it was an older car, I'm currently building a 69 Bug that I'm just so excited about. And it's going to be my surfer car, you know? So I definitely am looking forward to having a VW.
Yeah. I came from the VW scene. Originally before I got into the Porsche scene. So the air-cooled scene's a lot cooler than the water-cooled scene when it comes to Volkswagens, I must admit.
True.
Very chill. So cool. Then there was discussion about how bland Audis are, whatever. You're wrong as well. What 20 years in car industry, I have to say that some of the... Okay, so Drive Classics, Tom Horner said, with 20 years in the car industry, I have to say that some of the best decision makers and achievers were women, especially in leadership positions.
Yep.
There you go. And I agree.
Just don't often get talked about. Yes.
No. My best dealer principal I ever worked under in the car industry was a woman called Kay Facer, and she was the best man manager, I don't mean people manager, I've ever encountered. She knew exactly who to talk to in what particular way, and she knew how to get the best out of everyone in the team. And she hates me because I still call her boss every time I see her, even though she's not my boss anymore. But she is brilliant, and she's moved on to Audi now and manages a great team there, and has moved to another Audi dealership, and again doing the same thing. So I believe that. I've seen some amazing salespeople, after salespeople, you know, with great knowledge, and you know that because of that view, or that negative, that sort of the blindness that people have, they're not getting the props that you know they deserve. But also just being looked at as a normal person who knows something, rather than, oh, you're a woman who knows something. No, they're a person who knows something.
Exactly, and that's exactly what I said about normalizing it instead of sensationalizing it. I just want us to get to the point where we don't. Ideally, I would not have to be. I don't want to be. I don't want women in Porsche to exist. Ideally, one day we won't be necessary.
People in people. That's a different thing altogether. People in Porsche is a better thing. You know. There you go.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. Any more questions? So someone, what do you think of the electric Porsche shift? Any plans for Espo EV?
So, I mean, there's some logistics that go with the electric stuff that require certifications. And I mean, we're talking about millions of dollars to do that.
Yeah.
That said, you know, I believe in it, and I believe in people's choice to do it, right? Mm-hmm. So do I think that, you know, Espo itself will ever embark in sort of a movement to do electric stuff? Probably not, especially since we mainly stick to air-cooled. But I do have some clients who are doing that, and we are partnering with their other people to, you know, work with them on it. So I'm definitely not opposed to doing it long-term in terms of, you know, partnerships with people. But I can't say that Espo itself will ever ultimately create a branch of EV stuff.
Okay, cool. Electrification is something we can't escape now, isn't it? You know, it's there. It's, you know, Porsche have kind of gone, we're here, here's our bags, here's our package, there you go. You're going to like it, you're going to like it. It's a Porsche.
Exactly. Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's fair enough. But I hear what you're saying about the certification.
It's so expensive.
Oh, yeah, of course. Well, it's going to be. It's still niche. You know, you have last year, if I give you some stats about the UK. So last year, it was the first year that our CO2 averages went up, because people were buying more petrols than diesels, and diesels have so far become a lot lower in CO2 and NOx emissions because of stringent EU6 laws and a lot of other additives that are added to exhaust and whatnot. But more importantly, it was the first year that electric cars outsold hybrids in the UK.
Wow.
Yeah, outsold them. The number wasn't huge. It was within like low 100,000s or something along those lines. But the fact of the matter was that the electric cars people are starting to cotton on, and hence you have Volkswagen with the ID3 and the ID range. You have Porsche with the Taycan. You've got Tesla and whatnot. So although they're niche, it's going to get to a point where it's going to become so mainstream that they want more people to be able to work on them. Them. There's still indies out there like yourselves who may or may not want to delve into that. I don't know.
I think that you're right, but I think that the biggest thing that I'm anticipating is that there aren't going to necessarily be, I don't know that there is going to be a need to fix them, because the idea is to turn them in, recycle them, and start over. So I'm going to be, I think it's going to be really interesting to see how that moves, because the idea is to grow and develop new technology. So, you know, for example, Tesla, you know, they want you to turn your car back in, they keep it, they recycle, they take care of it the right way, they give you something new that has different technology, better technology, etc. So I don't know how this is going to go in terms of, you know, service technicians that are going to have to work on these cars in the future. I think that's going to be a really interesting thing to see how it plays out.
Exactly. I know Bosch have now thrown the gauntlet and given tuition and training for electrification. So if Bosch are doing it, and let's be honest, Bosch are very broad, and I don't know if it's the same in the US. If you have Bosch, if you're a Bosch licensed service place, you're kind of looked upon quite fondly, almost as good as a genuine retailer or dealership or whatever. Okay, cool. So it's exactly the same thing. Good. There's one last thing. Now, Home Sweet Carolinas, there's a question coming up, so don't worry. That question will come up about what music, okay? But just bear with us. Stay listening. And lastly, I've got one last question, time for one last question, and that is bold. It's more of a statement, but maybe it's a yes or no. I don't know. Your thoughts. The 997.1 GT3 is the next 73 Carrera RS. Prove me wrong.
I don't have another hour.
There you go. It's enough said, Ed. There you go.
Dialogue.
You're going to find these next questions an absolute cinch. Thank you to everyone who's given me your questions. If I didn't get to read your question, don't worry. We'll make sure when you come on next week, I'll do my best to answer all your questions. It's just time constraints are a challenge. Carbug, I'll make sure you're aware of the, my barber as well. If you ever come to the UK, I'll introduce you to them. Right. So now last week we did some quick fire questions, but I was kind of easy on Eric because Eric, bless him, he took about 20 minutes to answer all these questions. But because I like giving people a challenge, you have a minute to answer these 13 very simple questions with the first thing that comes to your head. Now, some of them are based on Porsche. Some of them are based on just general, knowledge and stuff. Rather less than knowledge, it's more your opinion on things. So are you happy to conduct this 1 minute quick session of questions?
Let's do it.
Sick. Okay, so bear with me a second whilst I get the timer ready. Now we've got an advert. Great. This is what happens when you don't buy the actual official version of any sort of timer. There you go, it's out. Okay, so this is the timer.
That's a big timer. All right.
Yeah, I'm blind. I'm almost approaching 40, so there you go. And the time starts now. So, first question. Best Porsche ever?
Convertible D.
Whoa, okay. Dog or cat?
Oh, dog.
What would you drive if Porsche never ever made a car? You kind of answered this.
Shit. Sorry. I mean, an SUV. I would definitely have an SUV if Porsche didn't exist.
Okay. Last song you listened to in your car?
Last song? Party in the USA by Miley Cyrus.
Okay. Best Porsche color?
Favorite combo would be ivory on the outside and oxblood on the inside.
Very cool. Highway or canyon?
Ooh, I love being on the ocean roads on the highway. I like being by the ocean, but if I was just in the highway, I would then say it has to go to the canyon.
Oh,
that was a minute?
That was a minute, but you know what? Because, oh, God, it's getting louder.
It's mad at us.
It doesn't like us. It's like, eh. Okay, 2 seconds. Let me get those questions back up. There you go. Okay, you got, and let's just go with this, but there you go. You're doing right by doing it quickly. Porsche, they never should have made.
Panamera.
Wrong. Schumacher or Senna?
Say that again?
Schumacher or Senna?
Center.
Okay.
Singer.
How could they improve the current 911?
Less buttons.
To be fair, you got a good point with that. Favorite drink?
Coffee If it's iced coffee, alcoholic would be a vodka Collins.
Vodka Collins, okay. Favorite modified Porsche other than your own? So I guess anything that you've not worked on, but something you look at and go, that's the ticket.
That's so hard. God, there's such great ones out there.
Don't be nice. You haven't been nice throughout this.
No, but yeah, no, I know. Okay, quite frankly, there's this, I can't remember now who they are because my brain, and it's supposed to be quick, but there's this amazing company out of Chicago that I absolutely love their work. They do some killer stuff, and they've dabbled in electric. So I'll have to find them and I'll post it like in comments later who it is, but they've got some badass stuff, amazing stuff.
I'll make sure I put this on the YouTube event when it's done as well. Cool.
Yeah, I'd like to give them props.
Cool. Are they the same company that work on Checked It Out?
Maybe.
That do the Checked It Out show?
Maybe. They might be. Okay. Yes. Yes.
Chinese food or Italian food?
Well, I'm Italian, so.
It's going to be Chinese, isn't it?
Absolutely. Chow mein.
Chow mein, yeah, of course, yeah.
I mean, I ride or died Italian. I am true-blooded all the way through.
Cool. And lastly, favorite film with a Porsche in it?
Oh, see, that puts me on the spot. Damn it. You know what? The one that just came out that was the McQueen one, Steve McQueen's film, that was really good. Really, really, really cool stuff. Yep. We went to the premiere of it and, you know, got to talk to Chad a little bit about it and stuff. And that's a good movie. Yeah. Awesome.
And that is it. That's all the questions. You came across quite unscathed. You were very, very just happy with your answers. I like that. So I need to find ways of shaking people up. So I need to come up with worse questions now. Thank you very much for that, Laurina.
Absolutely.
I want to say thank you as well for this evening. Thank you for your time today. Really appreciate it. You didn't find any of the questions challenging, and I wanted to try and really ask some pertinent ones and challenging ones there. But thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. It was so much fun. I'm really excited that you're doing this, and I can't wait to see who's next.
Cool. Well, it's already been set up, so I'll make sure everyone's aware of it as time goes on. But yeah, it's awesome. Thank you so much for your time. I know it was kind of short notice, but brilliant. Really appreciate it.
No worries. What else do we have right now?
Exactly, except for sit inside dark rooms talking to people on the internet. It's like going back in time 23 years when the internet first came out. ASL, do you know what I mean? What's going on?
I know. Exactly. We're gonna go back to AOL, IMs and stuff like that. So,
Brilliant. Thank you so much for your time. No worries. Thank you. All the best, Laurina.
Guys.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye-bye. So, thank you everyone who watched, who was watching this. Really appreciate it. So you're aware, thank you. Thank you. Always great to see some positive comments as well. So you're aware, we are going to be putting these onto YouTube. So the good thing is we'll be able to watch these again. It's also going to be on for the next 24 hours. So please watch it. Tell your friends to watch it as well. Next week, we have got a really cool guest, someone who is incredibly gifted when it comes to being behind the camera, is a massive Porsche head, and I love that person a lot. So if that person's watching, great. If they're not, well, they heard me say something nice about them for a change, because normally I'm a complete dick to them. Anyway, thank you so much for your interactions. Thank you so much for your questions. Thank you so much for you being you. Until next time. All the best. Take care.